Yeah, it was great. It was great. It was great. It was great. That's what I'm talking about. Hope all was going well. Salutes to the generals, to the captains, to the officers, to the front line officials out there getting it in, putting in work, terraforming the earth in the direction that is most beneficial to everybody involved. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Thank you for your service. I wanted to chop it up on some things. It's going to be a long talk. I want to just get some things off my chest. Had an incredible conversation when I was at the. I'm just jump right into it for some time, but thank you for being here with me. And yeah, I'm excited to just share and see how you feel about certain things, about what's going on in society. I feel like conversation is what changes and transforms a nation, transforms communities and relationships and individuals. It's how you develop identities through inner conversation and through referencing different situations and experiences. So. Uh, yeah, it's going to be a real chill conversation, but I want it to be progressive and also real deep and hopefully maybe helpful to other people. But I know it's going to be helpful to me. I'll make sure of that. But yeah, it's wild. I've just been going over certain things in my brain over geez, these past few days since I got my hair braided up. The woman who braids my hair up is incredible. It's a salon, and it's called Blessed Hands, by the way. Just a little shout out. I love it. The woman, she's a powerhouse, you know. And I like being a powerhouse. I like breaking bread with other powerhouses. But it's something just extraordinary that takes place, just in energy exchange, And I was really tired, so I couldn't really engage like I wanted to. Had some long weeks, but really good, productive weeks for sure. And but she was referencing how her church, her ministry, she decided to make it to where they have like this night where they go to the movies and they correlate the movie, whatever it is, to biblical principles, and then expound upon that whole situation and the dynamic, which is a great idea. That is genius, really, and it's actually something that it really started to unveil itself to me years ago when I started like to dig into society and how its infrastructure is and the shadow infrastructure is set up and it was like, oh wow, movies are really showcasing. They're showcasing aspects of reality that are hidden to most people because they didn't have access to certain information or whatever. But those of us who have made decisions and were blessed to have certain things revealed to us, we can see that that deeper those deeper revelations in movies. And some of those revelations we come across by ourselves, and some of them are reference for other people. But regardless, you can see it taking place in movies. So or being expressed in movies. So it's like, wow, that's wild. So um, using it as a reference to understand deeper concepts is genius. And it was something that when I discovered it, ironically at the same time, like my mom, bless her heart, my BMO, bless mother on nurse, she daggone really started like putting making a lot of movies like and put me on a lot of movies. And it's incredible her library. And it's a records. These are records of information. It's another form of storing information, another form of cinema. I mean, another form of art that transfers information and transfers ideologies from one individual to another. And that's kind of how paradigms can be built. It's through art. I mean, it's and art is a lot of times ahead of the game. It's not behind it. It may express what's going on, but it may also put new precedences in place or stretch things out to where now, people start to really look at things differently, and that transforms everything. So anyway, movies are a modern representation of that. Obviously, a very high representation of it, because so much energy that's put into the production of these things. It's for a reason. So Black Panther is the movie that that the powerhouse. I'm trying to think of a name to call her. We'll call her Julie. Julie was sharing with her ministry to be able to get a point across. So she was on the phone and she was like, "Listen, Quan, I want you to hear this conversation and just tell me how you feel about it, and tell me what you think about this whole perspective." So she began to go, talk about the Black Panther movie and was saying how like she didn't like how it was representing like a certain type of woman, a certain type of feminine energy, like basically like to where like the woman is the leader and like and she dominates the man. And she was like, nah, and she was telling that she was saying that she told her husband to not don't be taking no notes from this because this is not what she wants. She don't want to have to do everything. She wants a strong man. She wants a man who knows how to lead and who wants to lead. And for sure that has been a big issue in society that has been very much publicized and vocalized in communities, and for good reason. You can tell there's definitely been a feminization of the masculine energy in throughout the world, but for sure in the United States, you can see a very conscious attempt to just make it seem like men don't have a voice and men are weak and, and should be weak. And yeah, she began to just express those dynamics about the movie, and it was she was making very important points, and she gave very good examples about how that I mean it's obvious you can see it, and she was saying how they didn't have a plan. They didn't have a plan because they didn't have proper leadership, because you know once the Black Panther died in the other movie, then they didn't have a successor, and they were lost in that. This is what she was saying. And but I think I referenced that I think dude had burned all the herbs up, so that was also an issue. They didn't have any type of backup once she created the whole. So that was something I think that was overlooked in the conversation as well. But still, her point was valid that they didn't have an accurate plan on what to do and how to keep the Black Panther whole situation, aware, to keep that whole infrastructure in place of the defender and protector of their nation, and that spirit, and for it to never die, it should be perpetuated, and that's proper leadership, and that's something that is interesting because we this is it's wild because we kind of end up coming across like the same spirit of Dr. Miles Monroe, like around the same time she did before me. But I'm not really in the Christian community. I'm a Christ being now, so I don't really operate in those sorts of parameters anymore. But I still respect and give love to that community because I know that a lot of their hearts are genuine in their pursuit of developing themselves and developing their spirit. So when she was, I ended up like she ended up talking to me about the brother, and I was like, wow, I just ended up seeing a YouTube video about him, and I could tell that he was on it, like he was all the way tuned into the spirit of truth, tuned into just the benefit of the nation and the benefit of the people, with real love and with real care and a real passion and yearning to create an extraordinary community and environment for everybody. I think that's what everybody should kind of, it should be about that, no matter what type of, culture or background or religious sect or whatever your beliefs are. I feel like those should be the principles of that, your beliefs. Those should be the principles, no matter what you decide to call it. And if it's not, it's kind of like, well, how aren't those the principles? How aren't those guiding principles? How don't you think those are the most important? How don't you think that? So it becomes real simple it becomes real child's play about a lot of religions and a lot of the disputes and arguments. It's like they shouldn't exist. They shouldn't. It should be easy to find common ground about what to do and how to move forward together. Like you just have to put pride aside and begin to focus on a common goal, and you have to do that. That's how you win. That's how you move forward together as a new unit in unity. So she was referencing that point that they didn't have a proper leadership in place because of the plan, piss poor plan, which was obvious. But like I said, I think there was parts of the rule that I did mention, but she was still on. Sometimes in the moment you don't want to, especially if you've been passionate about a particular point. Somebody gives a counterpoint that is kind of valid, or is more valid than your point, and you don't really want to acknowledge it in the moment, especially because like you've been milling over that point for a while, and have other people come to terms with your point. But now a counterpoint has been made later on. It's like, dang, well, you know, I can't give but so much credence to that because now it's kind of I got to go and tell these people, but it's all good. I respect the passion and the perspective because it's still valid. But I think that's funny too. Nobody goes back and really just tell the people that hey, that's that thing that I had that I was bringing up to you, and I believed in, and I kind of influence your belief in it too. Anybody, yeah, and like you want, well, my beliefs have changed. I'm like, what? Because you influenced their beliefs into that thing, and now you didn't change the dictate. So, are you gonna go back and tell them or not? Most times you're not. But anyway, that was a good point about the because we're playing right. Boom. So, and then she began to mention how she mentioned something else about do have ridicule. I think she was talking about the other brother that was in the other brother that was a part of the community who was kind of like a leader. He was the king of his tribe. She was saying how he was in his whole separate tribe. Like they didn't have in I guess the Black Panther tribe or whatever tribe they was that were the leaders of the whole conglomerate of tribes. They didn't have a accurate king and successor. I guess I don't know if it's because the Black Panther, his father was a king. He died quick, and then his father, was his son. I mean, was the Black Panther and the king, and then they didn't have anybody, I guess, to become the king after he died. I guess because it was, it's all family. It happened too fast. So I don't know. That's a factor that should be explored, but this is more the conversation that I want to expound on because I didn't get to expound on because we was just talking, and I didn't want to. Sometimes it's good to let people get their points out because it's not about you wanting to be right in the argument. It's about allowing people to express themselves. And you having a conversation, you being able to build and gain common ground on an understanding. That's once again accurate listening and accurate conversation and real care and understanding about situations. It's not always about just trying to be right. This is once again me just expounding more of my perspective because I didn't get to really I didn't want to just overcast what she was trying to get across in the continuity that was taking place in the room with the conversation. So these are things that are important to understand when you are wanting and desiring communion. When you're desiring real appreciation, uh, you want to show people that you appreciate them and you appreciate their perspective and you really know how to listen. There's a lot of people that don't really understand these things when it comes to like listening. So, you got to be able to just allow people to get their point across, and say what they need to say and live their truth, without and also live your truth too. And that's all I love. And let the supreme lining of truth that connects everything, let that reign, it'll come forth and it'll be seen in the heart. That's how I feel. So the other point, like I said, was that there was no other king to replace. And I think it was because of those dynamics. But also, it's like, let's see, she would just, it was being spoken on about, that you could tell that the viewing audience of these types of movies are being primed for a particular perspective to be normal, a certain type of female psychology. It's creating that sort of vibe, that sort of ideology. I feel because back to back you had this Woman King movie and that was released, and this is something I brought up because she was talking about the Black Panther, and I was like, yeah, and then also the Woman King movie as well also showcased woman leadership, in particular in the um, Native American, Indigenous American community, what they call Black American, African American, Black people. That's interesting. That's ironic. I feel. Hmm. Why? Do you think that would be the norm? Does it perpetuate a certain type of energy in households and in relating? Yeah, I think so. I mean, everybody has, like I said before, people have been vocal about the feminizing of quote unquote the black man and the conscious effort to do this through various ways, including chemically through the food sources. I mean, these are points that can easily be researched, easily be researched and explored and come to your own conclusions. But uh, it's very interesting. It's very interesting. She was saying that the country, the nation, is being prepared for a female president, which once again, it's kind of hard to argue against that point. Back to back movies like that, that might be like three months from now. You see something like that. Like I don't know when I don't get into politics or anything like that. So I don't know when the election is, for that changing of whatever. I don't know. Uh, but you can tell that that's a seed that's been planted. That's for sure. But moving forward beyond that type of dynamic, 'cause that's obvious, that's apparent. There's some power. If you want to talk about, well, I was thinking about, I should say, these uh, these dynamics of the household, the community, but in particular the household and the family unit, and the interchange of just the relationship dynamics of masculine and feminine, man and woman, in particular right now in our communities, and how there is a lot of dominant women and submissive men. It's very much perpetuated, and it's it's not necessarily acknowledged though. Like the energy is kind of ignored and passed over, but at the same token, people are not being honest with themselves about what they're seeing and what's being broadcast and what's being perpetuated in the communities are these sorts of dynamics. And it's interesting because in Julie's relationships, from my observation on the outside looking in, from what has been expressed and showcased, it's like even in her relationship, like she's married to a strong brother, but he's not like dominant. You could tell he's not dominant over her. Like she's not somebody to be dominated. Like she is the she will be considered the dominant one in the relationship. And that's a clear observation. You know what I'm saying? Like, but that's not something that's fully being, you know what I mean? Like that awareness isn't fully being like realized and analyzed in honesty. You know what I mean? That's a big that's the situation. But that's the situation because I know energy. I'm energy sensitive, so it's like what when I see, even when I see and I hear the exchange and conversation, it's you know it's a beautiful balance because they both understand their how they operate. You know what I mean? So you just have a lot of people who, well, it's a lot of dynamics and variables there as far as like proper let's say proper household leadership. I feel it's a lot of dynamics and variables there as far as how it should be operated for the best benefit of everybody involved and the best success. So and this is something that I've been analyzing that I don't always talk about. Well, I actually do talk about it, but it's a certain way I feel like that it's done as far as male and female leadership to where it can be an incredible win-win when you have the maturity and spirit of the individuals because you could tell it's just natural for the woman to be the head of the household. You know what I'm saying? Now that term is also like a tax term. You know what I mean? Like not necessarily a tax term, but you know what I mean? Like it's a term that's used in tax affairs and in commerce, you know, head of household. Um, so it's like the man should be the head of household. And that term is associated with the provider, with the one who brings in the highest income for the in the home. That should be the male. That should be the man. And that's true. I agree with that. Like I agree with that for sure because of the capabilities and you know the capacity to do certain things and not necessarily have the inclination to do other things as easily as the woman is. So, but that's not the same as the leader of the household. You understand what I'm saying? Like the head of household is not the same as the leader of the household because to me it's like when I'm analyzing this male and female leadership, it's like in the community, it's like the woman is the leader inside the household, and the man is the leader from outside the household and beyond. You know what I'm saying? Like um, that's really the dynamics I think that make the most sense because the woman is the one who bears the children. You know what I mean? So it's like inside the house, she would be the one who would be making sure that it's in maximum operation inside the home. You know, because the home revolves around the woman and the child. You know what I mean? Like that. It's just what it is. That is what makes a home uh, to me, anyway. You know, those not just one person, but all three. You know, or more. But of course, if one person can have a home by themselves, you understand what I'm saying? Though, like as a unit. So she's typically directly responsible and involved with the children um, in the earlier years of the child's lives, more so than the man is. So it would make sense that the man will go out and do what needs to be done to make sure that the home is sustained and stable and provided for. Like I said, but he's not the leader of the home. He's not the leader of the home. And that's why I feel like and that's why I have personally been very selective about who I wanted to build a home with after my experiences that I've had. Because I understand like um yes, I can create certain vibes and certain environments um, um, from my command. Um, but it's even better if she exudes a certain environment and a vibe from her own internal command, her own command of herself, before influenced her. You understand what I'm saying? Before I came to modify her perspective. You understand what I'm saying? So it takes a certain type of interest, I think, to be the ideal soil for what I want to build. You understand what I'm saying? So because I know that influence is so strong about how the babies are going to grow and develop and what their interests are going to be. It's extremely strong. Like, to me, they are the soil. The woman is the soil. So anyway, going back to the leadership, it's like that those are conversations that are hard for people to come to terms with. But to me, it's crystal clear, even in the game of chess. But so, like I was saying, inside the home, the woman is the leader, and the man is the head of the household. The man defends the nation. The woman builds the home in the community, within the nation. Within the nation, the woman is feminine energy. It reigns. External from that internal nucleus needs to be masculine energy protecting this internal nucleus, this fortress. This is how I feel are the dynamics of male and female energy. But it's interesting, and it kind of it perpetuates in nature though as well if you analyze it. But it's interesting though how it perpetuates in nature. It's almost like it kind of flips a little bit. Not flips, but it's just like it's just the energy is different. I mean, it's like the feminine energy, the female is much more volatile in nature uh, than the masculine energy is. Much more volatile, you know. And that intrigues me because I've seen it over and over again with different animals and different species. You know. What does that say about that energy? What does that say about the energies? You know, it intrigues me. It intrigued me for a while. It has. You know, it's like wow, you have to really understand as a man like who you are and what you want to accomplish and what you desire to achieve and focus on that. And that's important as an individual. That's will, you know, that's discipline, and that's masculine energy for sure. And that's why you have so many women that are doing amazing things because they have a lot of that energy. They have a lot of accomplishment, achievement, energy, which is great. It just creates a situation sometimes where then you have them playing half of the masculine role. It's like you have these women are. It's like it's like those women have to be able to choose the right kings to be with and build with for the nation to really perpetuate itself into progression, uh, and they have to be responsible for that, because of what has been provided for them. And the kings have to begin to start to really unite who are of monetary prosperity and influence. Have to begin to unite more and even begin to build with these queens so that we can start to have better union. If that's what you want to do as a nation, otherwise you're not going to be able to progress. That those are the only ways we're able to really do it. Otherwise, people are kind of just talking, wasting their time, wasting their breath, saying that they want something, but they really don't want that. Because that's the type of effort that it takes. Um, it takes all sorts of unions, all sorts of commercially viable unions to really progress society. It's a beautiful thing to see these different energies express themselves. But what I was saying before was that it's wild how in nature I've seen different animals to where the woman is more volatile. I've seen it to where I think it was a certain type of leopard. Um, like when they were going to mate, they were saying that he has to really like even approach her the right way so that she doesn't like kill him like before or after they mate. It was like, God damn, that's just wild. I mean, it's some. I think the Black Widow is that's what's going to happen. You like that shit is wild. Like just how chaotic that feminine energy is that it's not really expounded upon, um, and that's why it's such a extraordinary force to be reckoned with, especially yeah, if you try to go against it, like you try to go against that type of force, it's like there's nothing that they can do. There's no limits that they aren't willing to go to sometimes. It's just to prove a point. More so than a man and quicker than a man sometimes, quicker than masculine energy sometimes. For real. And more times than not. I think once again that's something that's not expounded upon, but that's what nature has showcased. Even human nature though, as well, but certainly in the animal kingdom, insect kingdom. It's obvious, it's showcased over and over again. But the masculine needs to be strong, and that's something that is what's not being understood or in what's being created as a very strong woman and a very weak man, and that's the unfortunate situation. You need a very strong woman as well. And I don't think women were necessarily weak before, but they weren't as vocal and they weren't as diligent and they weren't as they didn't necessarily have the will or the vision beyond inside the home. You Before it wasn't as much as it is now, to where they have visions to do things that are going to that are enhancing the world. There wasn't that type of mindset, I think, as much before as it is now, and it's a very very common mindset, and I think that's a great thing. That's I think it's the power. People want to kind of downplay that like that's a bad thing. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think you just also need a very strong man to be able to combine that union. You need a very you need a man who has that sort of vision, that sort of caliber, to and who also isn't wanting to overshadow that. Like wants to help build with that. Like, I even seen this TV judge. She spoke on that dynamic and how her husband ended up kind of building their empire, as far as that empire, and by empire I mean like their union. How she ended up like they were in two different parts of the country, and when they started building their thing, and I think she had multiple kids, and he didn't have kids, or it was something like that. But it was something to where he was willing to move in a way that was supportive of her career, um, in full awareness of that, and and they both began to flourish for that, And these are important dynamics, I think, that are not being spoke of and congratulated and rewarded, because these are the types of dynamics that are needing to take place with the situations that you have in society. You can't have. It's not ideal to have a weak man, or a man who doesn't know how to. And by weak, though, I mean somebody who is intimidated by beautiful and successful women. You know what I mean? That is what I mean by weak. Not somebody who is a man who doesn't know how to support as well as guide and be an infrastructure, as well as a progressor of the union. And a defender and protector of the family, in the household, in the community. Like it's like men need to be able to operate in both capacities. Just like women are doing as well. And there's a lot of men that are stepping more into being able to do that. But it's just not really being publicized, and it's not really being popularized like it needs to be. Um, that there are men that are evolving in fullness who have the capacity to really be able to care and also lead. Care in fullness and lead in fullness too. And I'm mindful about attracting those sorts of females and not settling for anything less. Woman needs to be able to do that as well. She needs to have that capacity to do that as well. And there's a lot more of those types of women, but those type of women are still, unfortunately, they are not really understanding what they need to do to attract the type of men that they want. They don't understand fully what they need to do yet, because they still need to be able to. They need to, if they're going to work with the real man, like they need to be able to not attempt to control that man. It's really hard though, because that woman is such a strong woman that she wants to control. Like it's her, she controls a lot of other things. So she can't bring that type of energy into the communication and into the relationship between that strong man, that supreme man. And that's usually what ends up happening a lot of times in these relationships. And then it's such a very fine line. But I've seen a couple of them, a few of them, more of them now, that are really starting to emerge and that are working. It's a beautiful thing to see. It's just such a delicate walk. It takes a lot of communication. It takes clear communication, and very very clear inner awareness of communication as well. Really healed, rejuvenated presence, and one that isn't scared to help heal. Like really also being having the courage to help heal is important, because not everybody is perfect. And some people will run away from having to put work and understand other people. You know what I mean? And that's unfortunate. That's not because they feel like there's so many other options, which there are a lot of other options, but they're not a lot of great connections. Like sometimes you have a great connection with somebody, and people are quick to throw that connection away because they feel like they have other options, and they do. You do have another option, but that doesn't mean that connection is going to be as as thorough and as wholesome and as complementary as other connections, and other options. So it's important to be able to feel your way through that and see, with your heart, like what you and feel like what you really want, and being able to express that with another and see that in another for what it is and not for what you want it to be. That was something I had to really work on, is being able to see like what is there, not necessarily what I want to be there, but what is there, What is this? What is this behavior expressing? What is this behavior saying about this person that they are not saying about themselves? But this behavior is certainly saying something. That's important. That's not always, I don't know, like I said before, it's certain things that I would, that just didn't make sense to me. And I had to really, I had to observe society to understand it. It wasn't something that was just like innate for me to understand human behavior. I had to observe it to be able to figure it out, and then I'll say, "Oh, okay, this is what makes sense for people operate in this manner." You know, what I mean, this is what makes sense to people. Um, yeah, yeah. Otherwise, I wouldn't know. There was no pattern. There's no blueprint for me to observe to really get the clear understanding of that because I didn't see a lot of. I think a lot of like I didn't have a lot of those sorts of interactions around me when I was growing up. So I think I had to find uh, areas of society, of media to learn of that. You know. But that was also a form of programming as well, which is what I did not know too. You know what I mean? So it's like, but nature is not necessarily a form of programming. You know, and that's when you can start to get unbiased perspectives about forms of operation and dynamics in relationship and dynamics in energy. These are, this is uh, a innocent, you know, you know, it still can be manipulated, it still can be modified, um, but you know, that's true, you know, but still for what it is, though, you can see just different dynamics take place that are possibilities and potentials for uh, human beings. If human beings are one of the pinnacles of the planet, you know, I'm not going to say but as far as like a avatar to inhabit and operate through in this particular dimension on this realm, it is one of the pinnacles. It's fair to say, you know, because of what it's able to create and accomplish and how it's able to influence its environment. So, with that being the case, then I forgot exactly where I was going with that. But with that being the case, it's an extraordinary thing. Forgot exactly where I was going with that, but dang it. But yeah, that's you know, then you know, nature showcases just these certain dynamic potentials, these certain relationship potentials for the human being. If the human being is the pinnacle of this and the summation of all of these different things that we are seeing outside of us in nature, then it has to be a potential that can be accomplished and achieved within the human being and within the interactions between human beings as well. That's what I think is a fair assumption. It has to be a fair assumption. So I don't know. I thought that was just interesting. It was a great conversation, great energy. I remember being very excited when she brought it up. I was like, "Oh, wow, okay, that's what y'all are doing too. That's a great type of. I think that's a great, like sort of vision type of vibe to have in the ministry. Like it's very modern and progressive. Like it's very like right now, what's going on? Let's talk about what's going on relative to what we have going on. I think that's kind of how churches have been, but I think the way that she said that they were doing, I think is dope. Um, anyway, though, yeah, keep winning, keep winning. Um, I wanted to talk about that because I needed to get that out because I've been thinking about it over and over again. Like, man, that was a great conversation. I'm gonna watch that movie again as well, just so I can see. I wanted to share more gems with her about that and with people about that. But I'm gonna, but in particular, but it was inspired by that conversation and about what's going on. And she's welcome to it, and I think that's great. I think that's great when people who even claim a particular type of religious ideology and viewpoint are still open to what other people are speaking about who may not necessarily share and vocally express they don't share the same type of ideology, but they appreciate theirs, and then they also appreciate theirs, and it's mutual love and respect, and we can converse and communicate about different viewpoints without wanting to tear each other down, without even wanting to change somebody into somebody else's viewpoint, but just wanting to talk about our viewpoints. That communication I feel like is extraordinarily healing to the planet. It's extraordinarily healing to communities and to other. It perpetuates the energy of communication and sharing and talking and having the unconditional love to agree to disagree. That is truly unconditional love. When you can agree to disagree with somebody, then you can say, okay, I respect that perspective, but I don't really necessarily agree with it like that. But I understand where you're coming from, and I understand why you feel that way. But I don't necessarily think that that is something that I will live my life by in my own best interest. But I respect you for doing it because that's how you feel, and that's how it should be. And more power that brings more power and more love. That puts more. That's the that's the silver lining, and that's the spirit of care and neutrality. I think that is important, to try to command somebody or try to just influence somebody to your perspective. It's a it's interesting, these dynamics, though. It's very tough because on one end, you I think it's just important to respect other people's perspective, and also be able to connect with people who share your perspective as well, and really show love and break bread with those people as well, and find those people, seek those people out, seek those people out as well, more than anything. But develop your own. Is develop your own perspective first. I think is paramount and key to even really being able to identify and find those people that resonate with you. They have their own. They have their own. They're taking the time to develop their own perspective. And they weren't given a thing. They weren't given an ideology. They said, okay, well, this is how I view this thing because of this, because of what I've researched, because of the questions that I've asked myself, and I've sought the answers, and I've dug it out, and I just milled over a thing until I came to a reasonable conclusion that felt satisfying to me because of the amount of information that I digested on that particular subject matter. That right there, when people come to their own conclusions and get that energy from that sort of devotion to their own internal answers, those type of individuals I feel like are the Christ beings. That's what it takes. That's what it takes, I feel. Those are the Christ beings. And when those types of beings start to connect and really interact with each other, those who really have taken the time to understand themselves, that's when you start to really see communities um, that are miracle working, and that are dreams made real. I think that's a possibility. I don't think it's wrong to have that sort of ideology, and I think the fact that I can feel it and I can see it in my mind's eye lets me know that it is real. It's a real thing, and nothing else is something that I'm creating. You know what I'm saying? Because that is a possibility. That is a real deal. That's what those levels of unity, you know, those levels of opulence, those levels of camaraderie. I feel like that love is coming back. That love has returned. You know what I'm saying? That love has returned. That level of care has returned. So yeah, I just wanted to chop it up and drop some gems on that, break some bread on that, because that was a really good conversation. Especially, it's it's the leadership that molds the tribes. It's the leadership, and that's something else I also wanted to talk about. Matter of fact, this leads into another conversation I was having, actually, probably a few days before I had that conversation. But this is with a coworker, though. It was like, oh, he made a point. He made a comment. I forgot what led to the comment, but he made the. And this is a common sentiment, though, and it's something that's been programmed too as well. The comment that I feel. Nah, I ain't know. I feel. I know. It's been programmed into society for society to feel guilty, for the public to have a guilt trip about what's happening with the planet. Like, that right there, to me, is a narrative that has got to end. That's a narrative that makes no sense. It's a narrative that makes no freaking sense at all. that people feel guilty about what's happening with the planet. It's not the public's fault. It's not the public's fault, and we have and people have been told it over and over again to the point where they have taken it, and they feel like it's a moral obligation to take that responsibility of the damage that has been done to the planet and the global warming, quote unquote, and the natural disasters that have been a result of the pillage and the onslaught and the disregard of the resources of the planet. It's like, what are you guys doing? You guys need to grow up. You guys need to do better. You're just dropping the ball. And this is the narrative that has been perpetuated to humanity about what's been going on. It's like that's not all the way accurate. That's not all the way sound. A sound mind wouldn't even all the way accept that sort of narrative, but it's because that's what you feel like. That's the narrative that has been you've been given and been told over and over again. So you just like, you know what, that is right. That is right. I ain't nothing. I'm not doing nothing. I'm not even going. You know, I haven't been doing anything, and I'm about to modify my whole entire life into difficulties uh, because of I haven't been honoring the planet, and that's not sound. You have to understand what narrative you have been fed, and not just go with that flow. And I'm going to explain why I feel that way right now, and I feel like it's paramount for people to kind of be honest with themselves about who they are and where they've come from. So the reason why I say this is because a lot of people haven't come from they didn't come from generational wealth in the sense of what we know it to be as far as like you know just different uh, resources that are placed within the family to where you're able to do whatever it is that you would like to do and learn about whatever you want to learn about once you start growing up. To me, that's generational wealth. Like these, you're able to be born into a situation. You can go to a private school and you're able to take private studies, and you're able to have conferences and seminars with other people who have come from generational wealth because you are all building your own type of community. That's when you got the numbers. And those people are usually captains in industry, or they come from uh, that sort of family, or those sorts, or they are in those circles, right? So to me, I'm using this term captains in industry because we know captains are leaders. These are officers. These are the people that represent. These are the people that are making the calls. These are people that are in command positions. There's not many times that civilians have those sorts of titles, but business people do have those sorts of titles because they are in charge of organizations. They are in charge of missions, and when I say they, but I mean we. But I'm speaking more so about uh, the commercial world as a whole, because people aren't they're they don't really like think all the way thoroughly um, before they just receive a narrative, and so it because they missed the point, and they missed being able to actually put an objective into place because they actually missed the point. They just receive a narrative, but they actually missed the point of how they're able to really progress. And it's I'm just kind of talking at this point um, because I know a lot of people don't really care, but I feel like, hey, I do care about my world more, but I also do want to just chop it up about like at least putting it on record, like, hey, this is really like the situation. Um, and it's easier said than done. It's also, to me, it's better to put in the work and transform our world to where the support and resources are there to not only just talk about change and modify the change, but also be it, be it and make it. Because this is how dynamics take place. And I'm not even promoting these type of videos. I'm just kind of talking on the blog to the situation. These are videos just to chop it up and break some bread with. I won't promote these videos. I just want to talk, really come to myself and put some things out there and just vocalize certain things. But I have this type of I speak these same truths even when I'm in public circles. So it's like it is what it is to me. It's not. I'm not doing these videos to try to gain popularity as much as I do it to just put it on record and to kind of talk about some things that I kind of just want to talk about in general. So it's just very interesting how people take on the responsibility and the accountability of executives, um, like they're the executives, and it's like everybody doesn't have that capacity to be executives, and that's just being honest. A lot of people don't want that sort of responsibility or that sort of burden. Any type of responsibility that folks can have, oftentimes they're going to try to shake off onto something else, and that makes sense too. Like nobody really wants to be weighed down, so that makes sense, But responsibilities are what make the individual who they are. How they handle, how they respond to those responsibilities. Your ability to respond, it grows your capacity to problem solve. And the more problems you can solve, the more that you are appreciated, and the more value you bring. And the more value you bring, the better you're compensated for that value. I mean, it just goes hand in hand to me, and I feel like that's how it is, whether people realize it or not. So um, the issue is people are taking on a narrative that really isn't true, and they're not thinking about it long enough to really analyze it. That it's not true. Um, it's so, and it's like I said, it's more times than not because it's just easier to just go with the flow, and it's easier to just respond than it is to take the time to actually think about um, a situation and then respond. Being able to actually critically think, and analyze and observe beyond what somebody's telling you, but just on your own accord, think about what's going on and then come to your own conclusion. There are way too many daggone, especially mainly in America. Like there's way too many massive industries and empires, to where it becomes obvious like who are the culprits of why society and the world is how they are. The thing is, what do you want? What are you going to do? Are you going to continue to support those conglomerates, or are you going to focus on alternative ways to receive those services and products that you desire? Create business vehicles that you can support your community with. It's not even hard. Like it's very simple. It's like how like it's crazy as hell. That motherfuckers like, come on, bro. I think that's what be shocking me sometimes. It's like, nah, ain't no way you thought about this, bro. Ain't no way you thought about this. Like it's not me. Like people be mad at me, like, oh, you think you know it all? It's like, no, I don't think that I know it all. I just know that I thought about a lot of things for a long fucking time. Like I thought about a lot of shit for a long time. People not thinking. They don't want to really think. It's like, nah, but if I want the truth, then I know I got to think about the truth. I can't just go face value from what somebody's telling me. I got to be thinking about this shit. Like, what really makes sense? What feels right to me? What feels right to me? To me, this shit is really simple, man. It's really simple if we want the results that we say that we want. Really simple. And there's no way that I can be the only person who has thought about this shit. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way. And if it is, then great. I'm thankful. I'm thankful. I appreciate it, Lord. Lord Ganesha, I thank you, Goddess Kuan Yin, for making me who I am, for making me the avatar that I am. But apparently, I done thought about some shit that ain't nobody else thought about. Shit, that's a blessing. I'm fucking one of a kind, goddamn. One of a kind. That's supposed to be a song. I heard it as a song in my head once. No, but for real, nah, please stop, please stop, please stop. I mean, and then just think about it and analyze it, think it through. And what I mean by think it through is like, no, how people have the money and the resources to go and buy a McDonald's franchise? McDonald's franchise, they said back in the day, was like $1 million to get. It might still be like that now. Okay, so you got the McDonald's franchise. That's incredible. Did you not get a grocery store franchise? Did you not get a grocery store? Did you not get a farmer to a farm? Did you not get a farm to market store? Like, how don't you? How are people getting these things? How aren't people getting these things that have these resources that say that they want to help build community? How aren't people getting those things? Like, what are we talking about? Like, come on! Like, there's no way. Like, there's no way that you really are actually for what you're saying that you're for. Like, it's not even hard to analyze this. That shit is simple as hell. That shit is simple as hell. No, it can't be. Come on, man. Come on, man. Like, it's really easy, it seems to me, if you wanted to progress community, if you wanted to progress the nation, like what you would do, especially once you started getting to certain numbers of resources. But then it's like sometimes I think you would have to be willing to find a way to minimize the expenditures to the point to where it's not depleting what has been built. And I think that is where the challenge comes into where people sometimes don't even want to do it. They don't even want to do the work that needs to be done because they don't want to potentially not be as profitable as they can be because something that is actually actually creating and giving back may be may not be profitable, but it may be what's needed. You know what I'm saying? So it's like because of that, sometimes people they don't even deal with it. They don't even focus on it. They don't even care. They don't even care. It's wild, man. It's wild because I feel like it's a lot of dynamics that easily could be just implemented and put into place. And if people were to get on one accord with those things, it would transform society in the best of ways. I know I'm not the only one that's been thinking about this. And if I am, like I said, I'm thankful. Hopefully, I share this too, and the spirit is put out there and it's brought forward. People start to feel it. You know, even without seeing this video, but it's just put in the air. And I'm talking about it. I'm vocalizing it. Put it on YouTube, and it's being put on record. You know, it's still a record, even though it's YouTube. I mean, anything you say and everywhere you say it is a record. It's being put on record. You know, but this is a digital type of record that you can go back and recall. You know, you have a record too. And so anyway, I mean, like a record that can be uh, recalled and replayed within your being, and it's of high value. It's of high value. That's my whole point in also saying that. So anyway, uh, anyway, what was I saying? What was the point of what I was saying? The point was always something to go on that shit. But oh, it's not even that hard though. It's not even that difficult. Like for if we wanted the progressions, especially now, it's like these people kind of are dividing their time into things that don't really amount to commercial success. I feel, and then once they get it, it's like they didn't have a plan to really serve people because that really wasn't not their objective to begin with. Like their plan was to be profitable and to be business and to build an empire, which is a commendable accomplishment. But they didn't really have a plan in place. So usually when they choose to give back, is usually in a commercial way. It's like in a way to where, hey, if you purchase this service, I'm offering you this service that you can purchase, and this is my way of giving back. It's like, well, that's not necessarily considered giving, even though it is, but it's not the same. Like I said, that becomes the issue. It's like it's really hard for people to kind of. So it's important for people who really have the heart to serve to also become business savvy. Like we have to take it upon ourselves to become commercially viable and become commercially successful, and then use those resources in a way that are actually beneficial and actually contribute to communities. And it's like it's hard to find a way to do that that's commercially viable. I think that's kind of what it ends up being the struggle. And like nobody wants to say that. It's like you fuck around and start just it's like because if it was commercially viable, then it would be done. Because that's typically what the game is. It's like people want to make the numbers. So if you can make the numbers and help people, then typically people would do it. But usually people, it's not. You have to really focus on a way, or be able to be sometimes be willing to, um, like I said, maybe take not be as profitable. Maybe even kind of take some L's as far as on the P&L sheet to serve. But it's like, but what are not for profits? So to me, I don't know. I'm just getting into the commercial world, but I'm excited because I see a lot of potential there and a lot of ability to really help put some plans in place. Because I feel like I said, a lot of things are kind of like, yeah, if we do this, then that should alleviate some issues. But there's a lot of forces at play. So it's like, well, who am I then? Am I who I am, or am I who people say I am? Or am I who what some uh, people perceive me to be? You know, or am I who I feel that I am? Because if I am who I feel that I am, then I'm here to do what I need to do and what I want to do. And that's why I'm putting pieces together how I'm putting them together so I can do those things. So I'm excited, exciting times. I just want to chop it up and break some break. It has been a while, and I just want to say some stuff on it, talk about some stuff, and get things off my chest, and really make some headway as far as putting something like this on record because I think it's important to really understand these dynamics as far as family, as far as household, and as far as leadership. Like, what are you observing in nature? Like, how are these in the feminine and masculine energy? Like, what are you observing? And what's taking place right now? It's a lot of successful, strong, diligent women who are looking for very strong men, and these energies are clashing because sometimes we're not understanding how you have to flow and how sometimes. Because I look at it like this: I'm able to accomplish my vision, being a multimillionaire, spiritual multimillionaire, a philanthropist, wealthy, multi-generational wealth builder, and a sustainer. I can do that, and I've done it, and I'm doing it. It's important for me to build with a woman who also has vision, who also has will, who also has a formidable will to accomplish vision. Because I want, and her vision needs to be big, and it needs to be opulent and prosperous, and supportive to people in community and families and men and women and children. Uh, I feel like that vision is grand, of course, but that's how I'm built, and that's the vision that I have, and that's what I'm attracting, and that's why I attract women who have vision, who have will, who have power, and it's important about not settling for anything less than that. And that's been times that I have, and that's me growing and me learning about what I want, and what I desire, and what best fits for me, and what I want to do. How I want to be, what I want to attract, what I want to accomplish. The woman is so critical in that. I can, like I said, uh, choosing the right woman is so critical in that, and I'm excited about getting clear on that, and this woman being very clear about what she sees in me, and what we're able to really clearly accomplish because of this amount of power, this amount of camaraderie and synergy. That excites me. That excites me like no other, because that's the best. So anyway, um, we need to have more camaraderie in these unions where I think the yin and the yang is real. The uh, the When you have men who are able to be strong enough to understand their goddess, their queen, and what she's able to bring and support her vision to fullness, and she has to have a vision that's grand enough and extraordinary enough to where it really changes our worlds in the best of ways. It helps a lot of people. I think that's pretty cool. That's something that excites me. And so yeah, I could talk all day about a lot of different things, but I'm really just rambling and chopping it up very super. Just about my perspective, putting on record about just different home dynamics and relationship dynamics. There's something else I want to talk about too. I think I was wondering at one point, like, when did the household of when did the household shift to a point to where there wasn't camaraderie, there wasn't union? Well, I might talk about it already. I don't know. I don't think so. But I was thinking about it. I was like, I think it was like Vietnam is when a lot of things changed as far as like the unit, the home unit. Get some more. But shit, but I feel like that changed a lot of things, because me and my mother were talking one time, and we were saying like what changed. We were talking about pivotal changes in society and pivotal changes in the union, in the unit, in the family unit, and she was saying that whenever there was a time where they had to do you had the Vietnam War, of course, and there was just a lot of women who couldn't, a lot of women, single mothers, quote unquote, and they needed support. So it's like all these support systems that were put in place for single mothers, quote unquote, and it's created a situation for fathers who are single, because here they are, um, trying to piece it together with no support, and these single mothers are having support because support from the government, and it's kind of in clause that they can't, once they start to receive support from a man, um, like like this man, a man isn't allowed to stay in the household. Like even they can't even really like build. So there are a lot of mothers, like millions of mothers, who did not choose to build with the man because of they didn't want to jeopardize their their financial support system, their financial support system. So this in turn, like really, like, and if you have generations of these women, like if you have, like years and years of these women making these sorts of decisions, that that makes that does something to the psyche of those women generationally and those men generationally, and that really is a very valid point. I'm gonna talk about it again in another video, because it's already an hour, so change it to this video. But I think that's just something that is not being spoken about as well. Because I thought about this over and over again, and then my mom made that point as well. It's what caused me to start thinking about it and thinking about it over and over again. I should say it is very important to me successful unions. You know what I'm saying? Like in particular, mine. I want my joints to be successful as heck. But first I need to understand what's taking place. Even especially if I want to build with women that are from the same quote unquote background, I can build with any woman. But building with women from the same background, then we need to understand what has happened to relationships in what has happened in the mindset of this community that's called a nation, because in a culture, because these are all factors. Uh, but of course, you could transcend it. But I'm just saying, like when you're dealing with just people, I mean, it's something that is embedded. It becomes embedded in the DNA. So it's something that you can. It's easily. It's much easier to transform once you become aware of it and acknowledge it. Then you start working on actually changing the physiological um, effects of this psychology, this this mindset that began because of circumstance and situation. It was a circumstance and situation that created this whole dynamic of women feeling comfortable of not fully embracing relationships and unions because it would jeopardize their financial stability and support. And this only came from those single mothers like that. It didn't come from fathers because fathers were not in position to make those decisions. Now there were a lot of fathers who did do a lot of things that abandoned families and had multiple families. You know what I mean? So that was going on as well. So and I'm not saying that is just, but that also probably is what created to where women felt comfortable in making those sorts of decisions, and just having years and years of that sort of environment being perpetuated because of for various reasons. It just created a strain on our relationships. And now you got people just at odds, and that's not what I want to be, and that's why I'm so delicate about making long-term decisions with a particular woman, because it's like, man, I know how much of a big deal that is, and I know what I want to do, and she has to have ability. Because it's like anyway, I'm gonna end this video and I'm gonna talk about it another time, because I could talk about this particular subject a lot, because to me it's very important, it's very valuable. I might end up stopping this talking about it like right now, just because I'm already like an hour in. But like relationships are like paramount in my heart, in my mind's eye, and um, I know they're paramount to communities. You know what I'm saying? And I think that there's certain things that people aren't necessarily thinking about, and there's certain things that I'm not thinking about. But I just want to talk about what I am thinking about when it comes to relationships. Because I also want to attract the type of queen, the type of powerhouse that I desire, and I also want to keep speaking this ideology into the universe. That's a certain form of understanding that is going to magnetize women who has that same understanding. So it's important to put it out there. I feel, and important, like I said, to put it on record. If I put it on record, especially speaking about it's the type of desire that I want, then there's no choice but to come my way. There's no choice but to come my way. This is I want a powerhouse relationship. That's what I attract: powerhouse relationships, and they're becoming better and better, more beautiful and more harmonized. That's just what it is. So anyway, I want to talk more about relationships in this next video. I just wanted to chop it up and touch on that. Interest cigar live action satisfaction. Yeah. This is a gang of cigar. I'm gonna show you how to make one of these days. But the main thing is just keep chopping it up on that realness. I know you feel this, because it's things that I want to talk about. You know what I mean? And I think it's things that that need to be talked about, and they're not being spoken on for some reason. Anyway, much love. This is power. Commit to the grit. Commit to the great. I don't know. I'm gonna debate if I'm gonna hop right back on, or just maybe even watch the Black Panther movie or relax or do so, study some more. I don't know. I'm thinking about it a little bit, but I just want to put that down on in the air. Put that in the air. For everybody say, "Oh yeah." Nah, but much love, peace and power. I hope everything's going well for you. I hope your flow is getting maximized and optimized. Make sure you make your list. Something I'm doing to magnetize. Uh, make my list. Checking it twice. Try to read it often. I like to tap in a minute, and it's every day perpetuating that reality that I desire to manifest, and I am manifesting. And I am living it. I'm changing the timeline right now. I'm living in it of what my list is. You know, I'm reaffirming it to my subconscious mind what I'm creating, and it's making it. Oh, this is what you want. Okay, boom, got this for you. Look what I did for you. Remember you saying this? Yeah, here it go. Remember that? Remember that? Remember you said you wanted that multi-million dollar business? Here it go. This is the reality. Remember? What else you want? Oh, you want to start breaking bread with these people? Oh, okay, boom. Got another one for you. Got that done. Oh, you want a mastermind group? Oh, okay, cool. Here they go. Yeah, now you got a mastermind group. What else you want? Oh, you want these opportunities? You want to start getting these type of checks? You want to start cashing these type of checks? Oh, okay, well, cool. These checks about to come. I'm about to open up an opportunity for you to get these type of checks in. Yeah, they coming. Don't worry about it. They on the way. I'm about to create that world right now for you because that's what you said you wanted. You wrote it down. You scripted it. You put that down. You inscribed it in the realm. It wasn't inscribed in the realm. This is what you wanted before. You did it. You put it down on paper. You wrote it down. Now it's here. Boom. Now it's here. It's here now. What you inscribed it. You made it. You made it real by writing it down. You made it real by writing it down. You made it real by writing it down. Now you start making a list. You start reading. Oh, this is what I want. This is what I want. 100 grand. 100 grand in my checking account. That's what I want. 100 grand in my checking account. Watch. It's on the way. It's here. It's here. It's here. Everything is working out for me perfectly for it to be here, and that's why it's here because that's what I want because I wrote it down. I inscribed it. That's what I want. I want this type of woman. I want this type of caring woman. I want this type of gorgeous looking woman. I want her to have these sorts of features. I want her to have these sorts of these sorts of eyes. I want her to have these sorts of lips. I want her to have this amount of compassion. I want her to be very compassionate. I want her to be very have clear communication. I want her to be inspirational to me. I want her to be somebody who can who inspires me. Somebody who inspires me in art as well as somebody who inspires me in commerce and business. Somebody who also inspires me in spirit. That to me is important. And to inspire me, you have to be somebody who has developed these qualities. So I hope she is mature in spirit and in love, in communication. She's gorgeous. She takes care of herself. She doesn't need to have makeup. She doesn't need to wear makeup. She takes care of herself. She eats properly. She eats in the best way for her. She can wear makeup and chooses to wear the makeup sometimes. It looks gorgeous in it and without it. It's such a care in person. I can go on and on, but I'm talking about scripting, the importance of scripting and what's taking place when you start to write. I'm about to write some more right now. And what I'm doing is reaffirming what I know. By expressing to you about what I know, I'm not telling you, I'm explaining to you why I know these sorts of things works. What you're seeing is incredible. What you're choosing to write down is what you're creating, and you creating and recreating, and you writing it down, and then you going after those things that you're writing down and saying that you're creating. It's magnetizing it to you too. So now you're going after it, and it's magnetizing it to you. So anyway, about to reread my list out loud to myself in the mirror. You did. And do some other things, do some other training. I might hop back on a little bit and chop it up, break some bread, but I just want to put that down on wax, like I said. And I appreciate it. I might even read a poem. I'm gonna start expressing more. But I gotta start vocal. I need to start warming up my vocal cords and start really spitting and start talking. Like I said, putting it more in the air. Long videos, just putting it out in the air, like what I want, who I am, what I'm about, and what's happening, what's taking place. Because now I'm starting to get into big money. Now I'm starting to cash big checks. Now big checks are coming my way. It's happening, and it's because I created this world. I created this world. Like I blueprinted this. I masterminded this. So now the big checks are here. And now that they're here, I'm starting to have more time. I'm starting to be able to spend more time with my family. I'm starting to spend more time magnetizing more things that I want to do and more collaborations. And that's exciting because that's a dream of mine. I like teams. I like unions. I like unity. And, I like the smiles and the laughter on our face when we win, when we accomplish new things, when we get new check marks, when we do this, and we can, when you get them in your own world, let alone being able to do it with people in various ways. So anyway, make your list, make your list, and start reading it to yourself. Start carrying it with you every day. There's a power. There's some power. Commit to the grit. I'll spark up. I love you. Commit to the great. Keep doing what you're doing. You did it.